Week 1 in the books. I will be going over the top 5 power teams in the NFC and in the AFC. Trent will have the top plays of the week, and Cameron will talk about the worst NFL decisions on or off the field. And I will give my take on the Tyreek Hill arrest. All that and more coming up next on Goode Sports. Thanks for joining us. I am Randy Goode, and as always, we are excited to get started here talking NFL football and all these other things that are going on. It's a fun time of year. If you like what you see and hear, please hit the subscribe button and like button. We're getting more and more people joining each week. We appreciate that. We've had over 5,000 views, 250 hours of watch time, and we just got started. So thank you guys for joining us, and we really appreciate that. I am joined by Cameron Harkleroad and Trent Snead. And Trent, let's start with you. What are your thoughts of the first week of the NFL season?
Man, I was fired up to get back into some football and some actual football, not just having to see, the backups play the backups.
Yes.
It was exciting to see. I think there was a lot of surprises, a lot of things we already knew, and definitely some sadness, especially for the Cleveland Browns. Hate to see that. Yeah, rough time for them.
Brutal.
A lot invested, and it did not look good.
Brutal.
So, yeah.
Brutal at all. Well, let's start off with Monday Night Football. That's the most recent game. And
big game.
Yeah, it was a big game. The 49ers, I was not sure how they'd look. Trent Williams gave everything he could. Tired and beaten down. He looked really good. We had Jordan Mason come in for Christian McCaffrey, which hopefully he's going to be okay. But Jordan Mason, I've been wanting so bad for him to play. And he's actually our third running back. Undrafted free agent, played awesome. The 49ers look really good. Purdy had some great throws. I was impressed with his throws. Ayuk, he looked like he hasn't practiced in a while. Yeah. Dropped a few balls. Kittle missed a couple, but Ayuk had a nice touchdown. Give me that.
So I know that Trent left the game at one point. Is he
for
okay?
IV. Yeah, he just needed an IV.
Oh.
Yeah, it's no big deal,
brother.
Here's this guy. He comes. I was worried because
does people in downtown Nashville. They need an IV.
he went out for an IV, and actually, this is when you know you are valuable.
Yeah.
So they were going to go for it on 4th down. They're thinking about what they're doing. Trent Williams comes out after they go through a timeout or whatnot, and then he's looking dead, and they go, never mind, we're kicking a field goal. He needs in for an IV. So he went in for an IV, and they stopped going for it on 4th down and kicked a field goal.
So IVs, don't they take a long time to work? How does he just get an instant IV?
I have no idea. I don't know how they do it.
It's probably not a drip. It's
so I just got an IV.
Like an injection, maybe.
I just got an IV before my marathon.
And it's like 30 minutes.
No, it was like 2 hours.
Yeah,
it takes forever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because they got a whole mixed portion that they're putting in you, and you got to obviously use the bathroom almost instantly right afterwards. But
they might not have done everything the way we do it in the NFL. But he went in the locker room, got an IV, came back, and
he got one of those liquid IVs, and I'm not talking about the ones that come in the pouches. You know what I'm saying?
No, I don't want to know what you're saying. so Trent, what are your thoughts of how the 49ers looked?
Yeah, I mean, I think the cool thing about this game that came up is it's 2 top 5 defenses. I think you're going to put the Jets probably somewhere in that 3 to 4 range, and the 49ers are probably 2 to 3 range, somewhere in that area. So I honestly couldn't tell you who I think is number 1 after week 1 just because there was a lot going on. But really top-tier defenses, and I think the way that the 49ers ran on them, I know you were really concerned about their running offense with or without Christian McCaffrey, with or without Trent Williams, but they look solid. They look like they were going to run the ball well. Between the tackles, seemed like it was going to be there all day. And there were some other teams that found a lot of success this week in between the tackles, but a lot for the 49ers. And as far as the Jets go, I think, honestly, it's a loss for them, but I don't think it was necessarily a negative for them. I mean, you got Aaron Rodgers, 40 years old, coming off an Achilles injury. He didn't look that bad.
No, I think they're fine.
He looked a little soft on the plant foot, but honestly, he moved around okay, and he still looks like I mean, you don't buy an Aaron Rodgers for his plant foot. You don't buy an Aaron Rodgers for those type of things. You better buy an Aaron Rodgers for the arm talent and the overall mind capacity. And he still looked like he got it. He looked sharp in between the ears, and I think overall they're probably disappointed with how that game goes. But I think they'll get in their rhythm here soon. I think the offense came out slow. It looked slow for most of the game, and just give them some time. They're going to have to figure out how they're going to battle between being a running offense with a stud in the running back at Breece Hall. They got Braylon Allen there who's going to take some of those shares, and they're going to probably want to figure out where those two guys play in that offense for them. Alongside of, you had Alan Lazard, who had a big game for them, and Garrett Wilson, who didn't really have a big game. So
no, he had a few drops, and that hurts. I mean, when you're at 3rd and long and you get a first down that you should have and you drop the ball, it kills the momentum. I think the Jets will be fine. I think they've got, as long as he holds up, he's got to watch his body language a little bit because he looked pretty frustrated out there with multiple drops.
Yeah.
But I think they're going to be fine. The 49ers, what I was excited about for them is the offensive line, as I've mentioned here before. The left side's been good, but the right side's been bad. And we've got a rookie, Puny, who looked great.
Yeah.
And that really hits one more, at least, guy that can block. And if Ayuk gets it together, he hurt. Because Purdy had actually, Nick Wright, of all people, the hater of haters, for the first time.
He didn't say something positive. Tell me he didn't say something positive.
He said, I think his words were, I hate to admit it, but Brock Purdy looked very good.
Good.
And then he went through, and, I know by tomorrow he's going to say he was terrible again. And Brock Purdy didn't even have a touchdown.
He's not going to move up the mountain.
But, he'll probably move him down.
He's going to fall on Mahomes' mountain.
He actually said on there that he actually was more impressed with this game than he was when he's had all the 130-plus QBR ratings and all that. So I don't really know what's on Nick Wright.
Well, let me just say this. They had every excuse to come out and not play well on the offensive side of the ball. In fact, they had a lot of excuses not to come out and play well on the defensive side of the ball. And you could tell at times that they were missing some star power there at linebacker.
Yeah.
But their secondary looks solid.
Warner is awesome.
Yeah.
He really
held it down.
Yeah.
But, with Trent Williams just coming back in, Christian McCaffrey not being there, Brandon Ayuk just coming back in, their number 1 overall or their first-round draft pick not being there. They had every excuse not to play well on offense, and they came out and they looked like they did for the last couple of years, and I think it was a solid outing for them right off the bat.
So now let's move on to, the Thursday night game, the Chiefs and the Ravens. Cameron, what are your thoughts of how that game went?
It was a fun game to watch, that's for sure. I genuinely didn't think we would come out like we did, but I'm glad we did. I enjoyed. I always enjoy beating up on the Ravens.
You gotta feel good about that Xavier Worthy performance, man.
Yeah, Xavier Worthy was good. He was amazing. I'm very happy with our pick.
Yeah.
At the time, I wasn't sure about it, but I have no doubts now that it was a good pick.
It was a worthy pick.
Yeah, it was a worthy pick. Yeah. And I mean, really, it wasn't a defensive game. I mean, McDuffie, he played a pretty good game. But other than that, I mean, it was pretty offense. Isaiah Likely just kind of ran around and did whatever he wanted to do, and Lamar was right there. I mean, I remember at one point we were in the second half, and it said that Lamar had like 2 yards of passing that entire half, and it was just like they were just running around, and we couldn't really do much about it, but it was okay because all they really had was Lamar.
The things that concerned me about the Ravens was they lost 3 offensive linemen. And how would they do? And the Chiefs just blew them up. It's a weird game because it was close and it came down to like a half an inch at the end of the game. But it felt like the Chiefs really dominated that game. It's just right at the end.
Yeah.
Lamar did Lamar and brought them back, and that was pretty impressive. But it felt like the Chiefs were mostly in control of that game.
Yeah, I never at one point felt like we were going to lose that game. And I also didn't feel like we were putting everything out there either. Yeah. I don't think we were at full like playoff push capacity. Like I think we were just kind of jogging. And the problem is that the Ravens have a lot of dead weight, especially in their offensive line, and Lamar wasn't fast enough to carry that and beat us.
Yeah, so. The ultimate respect they were already, as soon as Likely came down and had the touchdown, and they thought it was a touchdown, immediately John Harbaugh went, "We're going for 2.
Yeah.
We're going for the win.
Yeah.
We do not want overtime with this team."
Oh, absolutely.
That's a Mahomes factor right there. That was
Absolutely.
You know, the one thing that I did take away from your Kansas City game that I don't think a lot of people are going to talk about this week, that I don't know, for me, it seems like something that's going to become a bigger deal. You guys have 3 tight ends, and you guys came out in 3 tight end sets multiple times. Justin Watson, Noah Gray, and Travis Kelce. The crazy thing is I wouldn't label any of those tight ends as blocking tight ends, but they're coming out there in these 3 tight end sets, and they were successful running the ball in those 3 tight end sets, and they were successful passing the ball in those 3 tight end sets. They look really. Not a lot of teams are going to come out in a 3 tight end set. Not a lot of teams. No. And it's a new look for probably a lot of defenses, and it'll keep defenses on their toes for sure, or on their heels. Sorry,
Something
my bad.
new.
So, you know, we saw a little bit of it this week. I think you're probably going to see it more and more because I think they really like those guys. So
I mean, we just re-signed Noah Gray for like $30 million for 3 years or
Yeah.
something like that. So
I wouldn't be surprised to see that be something that's more and more popular with that offense as the year goes on.
Well, whatever they do work, so
Yeah.
you got to hand it to them.
Barely.
So let's go to the Friday night game. We've got the Packers and the Eagles.
The old Peacock game.
What'd you think of that game, Trent? Well, how'd you think it went down for you?
Man, I just would hope as an Eagles fan, one day I wouldn't have to be stressed the whole entire game. You know? Like,
Yeah.
it'd be nice. Like, after last year, like, we were 10-1 at one point last year, and it was like, I'm pretty sure I had lost at least half my hair through the season.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and I was probably having heart palpitations through the season, you know. Man, they just kept me on my heels last year throughout the whole entire season. And now we come into this year, I'm like, I don't want to do that anymore.
Yeah.
And it was rough. It was rough. To be honest with you, my overall takeaway from the big picture, Packers didn't look really ready to play. The Eagles didn't look really ready to play. I think the Packers got 1 series in on offense for their starters, and the Eagles had 0, and you could tell. I mean, it was just ugly.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is, I want to go back to talking about a team that wins Super Bowls, Kansas City. They play their starters in the preseason, whether it's 1 or 2, runs just in a game. I mean, that's something. You could tell as the game went on. You watched that game. Jalen Hurts had a lot of rust to knock off. And the crazy thing is he just went through a training camp where he threw 1 interception the whole entire training camp. You know how crazy that is? And especially when you have a quarterback where the offensive coordinator is going, I'm trying to get him to throw interceptions. He won't.
Yeah.
He's playing that well right now. But then you come out in the first game, you have a fumble Ruski right off the bat, and I think he had 2 interceptions. I can't remember if he had 1 or 2. But
I can't remember. One was rough.
Yeah,
at the
one was
beginning of
rough.
the game.
But here's the thing. As the game went on, I think you saw Jalen play a little bit more like Jalen.
He did.
And the one big takeaway for me is the whole offseason we've talked about, there's no way that any team is going to be able to stop this offense. And if Jalen starts playing like he did last year, at least for the majority of the season, no one's going to be able to stop this offense.
Right.
You're going to have to rely on taking the ball away and controlling the time clock.
Yes.
If you want to beat this Eagles team, because Saquon Barkley, never running behind a top 5 O-line his whole season, you can tell. 3 touchdowns in his premiere. And Terrell Owens is the only other Eagles player to ever do that.
And could have had 4.
He could have had
close
4.
to 4.
Yeah, he was close to 4. He looks like he's a solid running back, and he's a guy that's going to be a big part of this offense. The funny thing is in the after action little report where they do the interviews and stuff like that, Saquon says, the crazy thing is I scored 3 touchdowns today, and I'm still not the best weapon on this team.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And just to hear from a leader like Saquon to say that, but also think about the fact they're loaded. They have a very talented team. Cam Jurgens, I think people are probably that don't know the Eagles are probably gonna be super worried about him having some center issues. We had a fumble on the tush push at the 1-yard line, and then we had an improvised don't snap the ball right
Was
there.
there 3 different times they had?
It was
2 or
either
3?
2 or 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, but ultimately, I'm not too worried about it. I feel very strongly. We've seen Cam through not only playing guard, but I mean, Jason Kelce handpicked this guy from the draft for the Eagles 2 or 3 years ago to take over his position. I think the guy's got the talent. They're working out the kinks. It's a first year with a quarterback center. It takes some time. They're working out the kinks.
And they beat a good team.
Yeah. Let me say, I feel terrible for Jordan Love and the Packers.
Yeah.
I think that's a very talented football team. Jane Reed came out and had a big game. I think you're going to see more of that throughout the year. He's fast. He's quick. Christian Watson,
Got a touch.
he's starting to feel like he's maybe coming into his own. I don't know if he's necessarily ever going to be that true stud number 1 wide receiver, but he looks like he's going to be able to maintain 5 to 6 catches a game.
Yeah.
And, he's fast. He can take off the top, and he's run some interior routes now. 6'5", goes out and gets the ball where it needs to be. We'll see what happens with Jordan Love's injury. It sounds like it's going to be a 4 to 6 month thing. 4 to 6 week thing. But I just feel for him because that Packers team, they're not slouches, and they definitely could push. They definitely could push for a playoff spot if Jordan Love can come back and be healthy.
The Jordan Love thing is actually a lot better than that. There's a possibility he could come back this week.
Oh, really?
It's not as bad as they originally thought.
They originally thought.
I have not.
What was
I
the
have not
original?
heard
What
that.
was the original prognosis?
three
What
to
was the
6 weeks.
Strained PCL.
PCL? Okay, gotcha.
So it's your posterior, so it's not outside tendon.
It's not his MCL.
No, PCL,
Okay.
posterior. So MCL is medial, which is the one on the inside. ACL is anterior.
Cameron
which
is an
the one
expert on this.
on the inside of your knee.
He tore everything last year.
PCL is the one on the posterior, so it's on the right side. So it was just a strain, and from the sounds of it, it wasn't as bad as they originally thought, which is good.
Yeah.
So
For the Packers, I hope that to be true and that he gets to come back because that's a talented football team to miss out on a quarterback like Jordan Love.
they just paid him a lot of
They
money.
just paid him a lot of money.
Yeah.
But not as much as Dak Prescott.
Yeah.
I do want to address too. Some people want to talk about whether or not that was a dirty play on when Jordan Love was injured.
I don't think so.
I don't
No.
think it
It's
was.
just
I think it
football.
was football players playing football, and it didn't necessarily look intentional.
It's so easy to be
But-
critical in slow motion.
Yeah.
I
when
will
you're
say-
these guys are running full speed and they're going against 300-pound people.
Yeah.
It's hard.
I do have something to say.
yes.
It has to do with field conditions.
yeah.
Yeah.
The field conditions were awful.
How do we
terrible.
find the NFL?
Well, the problem is that wasn't technically an NFL stadium.
It's a soccer stadium.
It's a soccer stadium,
Yep.
so it's real grass,
Yep.
and it was just not kept well, and it was
Yeah.
rushed, and it's unsafe when you have bad conditions. The turf that we have is bad.
Absolutely.
The real fields that we have in the U.S. right now, if they're well kept, are our best bet.
Oh
Yeah.
yes,
Like
absolutely.
the Oakland Raiders field is one of the best fields,
Yeah.
but you can only play so many games there, and everyone wants to use AstroTurf because it's easier to maintain.
Easier.
But it's terrible for the players. It's
And they
so
can't do that.
unsafe.
We got a mega billion-dollar industry.
Yeah.
You can't be sending your players somewhere to play in an
Yeah.
unsafe environment.
No, I agree. It was an absolute failure by the NFL. You heard the Packers and both the Eagles all complain about the situation. You have broadcasters and NFL executives on the sidelines saying, "Yeah, this isn't really our best showing."
Right.
That's not fantastic.
No.
Don't put players in a position
No.
where they're more likely to hurt themselves, especially
Or
when you
get
have them.
hurt
Yeah.
by outside forces.
Or get hurt by outside forces. You got these players playing not millions, but miles and miles away, in a different environment
For a season opener.
for a season opener. And I wish it would be in a better situation. I don't know where we need to go with this overall, but I feel like the players probably need to start. I don't know, maybe enforcing something in part of that NFLPA situation because.
Unionize.
Well, we've talked about it quite a bit for a long time now. The players don't want to play on AstroTurf anymore. The New York Giants and Jets play in that same stupid stadium that has.
And that's where everybody gets hurt.
That's where everybody gets
I know,
hurt,
It's ridiculous.
and
Turf
they just keep on letting it go. And then you had like games, the Eagles versus the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. It's a Super Bowl game. You have both teams complaining about the conditions on that grass field. I mean, we got to find a way to, make this a better situation where we're not having players leaving football games saying, not necessarily the what if portion, but the idea of I was likely to be injured on that field all day.
Yeah,
Yep.
they feel unsafe, so they're not going to play as hard.
So let's quickly go through the Cowboys won. They beat the Browns. Cameron, my question is this: it was confusing to watch because was it the Cowboys looked really impressive, or is it more, in your opinion, the Browns looked terrible? What is your thoughts?
I think it's both. I think the Browns showed that Deshaun Watson is terrible, and their team is just really lacking in just about every position.
Yeah.
And I think the Cowboys showed that they're still the Cowboys, and you can't count them out. And no matter, somehow they're going to find a way to win, and they're going to win by a large margin, and you're going to at the end of the game, you're going to be scratching your head like, how did that even happen?
Yeah.
Like, how did we get here? Sort of thing. I mean, I'm sure Dak played a lot better because he had money in his pocket.
Gotta love it.
CeeDee Lamb's gonna play good because he got paid, and ultimately, I mean, Zeke played good.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, he played. I mean, I just shouldn't say good. He played decent.
Yeah.
He got a touchdown.
He got a touchdown.
And I mean, he
didn't look that bad.
He looked like there was reminiscence of like 2016 Dak, Zeke, and that was kind of exciting. I hope he keeps on that trajectory, because if he plays like he used to play, the Cowboys will be good.
Well, I am skeptical of the running back situation still. I'm just not sure where the Browns
You're
are.
not sold.
I'm not sold.
Yeah, I mean,
at
me
all.
either. But
not
I'm saying
sold,
if
but-
he keeps
yeah,
with the trajectory,
but it was
I
at
think
least
he'll
a
be
good start. I think he ended with 30 or 40 yards, but they had a bunch of people running and they had a big lead, so he's not in there the whole time. So it is time for our first segment of Trent's top plays.
Can I bring one thing up?
Okay.
So something I wanted to talk about that not a lot of people are going to talk about is the Chargers and the Raiders game.
Okay.
Specifically the Chargers draft pick against Max Crosby.
11.
Yeah.
Max Crosby had zero pressures, and he was one-on-one with that kid the entire night.
They had 11 one-on-ones.
And everyone was upset at them taking Joe Alt.
No,
I sat here and I was like, there's no better pick for John Harbaugh.
That's a Jim Harbaugh.
Jim Harbaugh,
pick.
sorry.
And one of the best picks, and just showing immediately that was a good investment.
I was
very
talking about that coming up. Yeah, he gave up no pressures. He went 11 times against Crosby and gave no pressures.
And he looked very like put together.
Oh yeah,
I
Joe
was
Alt's the
happy
real
about
deal.
that.
Yeah. No, I think it made a lot of sense when they did it. I think some people were outraged. Didn't make any sense that they were outraged. It was the right pick, and it's showing already.
Mm-hmm.
That is absolutely a Jim Harbaugh pick. His first time in there with the 49ers, when they got going the first time, they had two offensive linemen they took in the first round, Joe Staley and Davis. But now it is time for Trent's
You're good.
top plays of the week.
All righty, I'm really excited about this one, and feel free to jump in here, guys, because we're gonna kind of go through the list here. My first top play for the list is Hudson from the Bengals. We had the Bengals playing Joe Burrow through a beautiful pass, and I'll have Drew kind of show some of these highlights as we go through these. But man, Hudson, the tight end, catches the ball at the 1 yard line. He's sticking it out, fumbles it right there at the 1 yard. Top play of the week. Put the ball in the bag, man. Put the ball in the bag. Listen, you are not in 5th grade football anymore. Take the ball, put it back in the bag. You got 1 yard to go. You know where the defenders are. Finish it, man. I mean, why are we taking the football? You got a beautiful catch, beautiful play. Joe Burrow's excited. He might not have to re-sign Jamar Chase again. Who knows? Just catch the ball, put it in the end zone, and you're at the 1 yard line, fumble it, lose your shirt, and guess what? You're probably not going to play as much next week. Good job, buddy. Play of the week. I don't know if anyone. I mean, it was very similar to the Travis Etienne play, but the reason why I picked this one is because Travis Etienne at least had the ball in the bag. You know, he had it tucked in. It was a good play by the defender. Yeah. I don't know why you would ever catch the football and just leave it hanging out there for everyone else to see, right? Yeah. Not a good play. Sure. My next good play. Now, this one I'm actually really excited about. Andrew Van Ginkel. What a play. Reminiscent of, I'm going to forget his name, Kyle Hamilton out in Baltimore.
Yes.
Right off the snap, intercepts the ball, takes it in for a pick six, and it's probably the quickest touchdown you're probably going to see all season.
Yeah.
So awesome. What a play. And I think the cool thing about that play, and that is truly a play of the week, because, man, you got to have some serious game knowledge to say, I'm going to take a risk here. I think I know what this play is. I'm just going to run.
And that's what it is. It's study, preparation, and they see the formation, they see the count, they see the way they look at each other.
Yeah.
And you're all in.
Yeah.
Was that against the Giants?
Yeah. Against the Giants.
Do you want to know a fun fact about Daniel Jones?
What?
Daniel Jones has now thrown more pick sixes than touchdowns since his $160 million deal.
Pray for your New York friends.
I should have been an
Pray
Shout
NFL
out Danny
quarterback.
Dimes.
Pray for your New York Giants friends, man.
They don't exist. They're
That's
not real.
rough, man.
Yeah.
That's terrible. I don't even know. Listen, I will say this too about the New York Giants. Why the heck did they bring the throwback jerseys out on week 1?
Oh, that was hideous.
Hey, so did Seattle, but they look good.
Yeah, but Seattle
And they won.
The Seattle
The
ones are
Giants
fly.
looked.
Listen, those Seattle throwback jerseys,
That
The
was-
best.
I would buy one just because they are nice.
Yeah.
They are
They're the
so nice.
second best throwbacks in the league.
My dad wanted a Seattle football jersey for Christmas, and I bought him a throwback one because I was like, listen, these things are clean, man.
They're the second best ones in the league.
I would not
Right behind
donate
the
the
Kelly Green.
Giants throwback jerseys to Goodwill. They were horrible. That's just
Well,
not fair to give those away.
Andrew Van
Some
Dinkel
kid in
proved
Rwanda
that
will have it.
no one wants that.
All right, you got
All
some
right,
more?
next play. Now, this is a big play and really exciting for me.
Yes.
Especially for me personally. Cam Jurgens from the Philadelphia Eagles. Man,
Oh,
snap the ball to the quarterback. Why are we snapping the ball? Jalen had a little conversation with him on the sidelines after he said, listen, young man, listen, I know we're probably about the same age, but young man, you can't be snapping the ball when I'm not looking. It doesn't work that way. No, I'm sure Cam Jurgens will be fine, but man, costly play.
oh.
That's rough. You don't know if that's one of those things where it's just a miscommunication or there's a discrepancy on what the cadence was supposed to be, but rough play. Can't do that. Protect the football. Don't throw it at your quarterback when he's not looking. I've found in the past history that usually it's not the quarterback's fault. So you got to fix that up, Cam. We'll come back to you next week. Hopefully it's not for the same thing. Another one, Geno Smith. Oh, I love this one. Somebody get me a time watch. This guy can still run the ball.
Yes,
Did you
he
see
can.
him take off? I said, Geno Smith, where'd those wheels come from, man? He looked like a brand new Hot Wheels at Target. Woo! He flew through that field. I was actually so surprised. I don't know if you guys saw how many people he ran by on that play.
Yeah.
But I was like, where did this come from?
Yeah.
Where did this come from? And I know sometimes I have the tendency to dog on Geno a little bit. But this week, Geno, you're making my plays of the week, and it's going to be a positive
It's
one.
on a good one. Yeah.
I can't promise that it'll always be. All right, my next one. God, I feel bad for this one because we were just talking about him, how much we love that mustache. We love that hair that flows in the wind.
Oh, no.
Gardner Minshew.
Minshew Magic.
Listen, you might need to call Kenny Pickett and put some gloves on because holy smokes, man, hold on to the ball when you throw it. Gosh, I mean, he literally he cocks back and he throws the football and it's like mid-throw, he just loses his grip.
That was bad.
And
Off to the side.
Off to the side. I'm like Gardner, what are you doing, man? You've been throwing the football for how many years? You just lose the grip of the ball. Let's hope that maybe the center spit a loogie on it and it was just a little slick or something. Maybe there's a raindrop, a Drew drop, or a dew drop on the grass. Who knows? Maybe there's a little bit of liquid on that ball. Maybe some sweat from the center. He's overworked, out, tired. Maybe he needed an IV. Who knows? But Gardner Minshew, man, I hope your hands are big enough to throw a football at this stage. If they're not, call Kenny Pickett. He's got gloves. My next play. Tyler Johnson, pass to go for 80 yards. Buffalo Bills. Yeah. So, oh gosh, sorry, my bad. Not Buffalo Bills. It was the Rams. Sorry, my bad. He took a pass. It was like an out route from Matthew Stafford. 2 defenders on him. Catches the ball. You see him stop, turn, and go. Perfect route. Perfect catch. Way to turn on the ball. Way to get upfield. He made some defenders miss. Doesn't get the touchdown there, but beautiful play nonetheless. And with Puka being out, man, guys like Tyler are going to have to step up in these next couple weeks. So we'll see how that goes for him. But awesome play for a wide receiver. We can't ask much more. We got to love those yak yards. We love the big boys run, but just a wide receiver getting some yak, I'm in for it.
Yeah.
C.J. Stroud, man. The back of your lineman's head is not a target, brother. Come on. I mean, I don't know if you guys saw this. I think what, in CJ's defense, I think what happened is he saw a read and he thought, man, I can hit that read. And as he's going to throw it, he's throwing the shoulder in there. He's going to throw it. And I think he goes, I'm not going to make that window. And he straight drilled the back. He straight drilled the back of his, I think it was his guard, right in the back of the head. I'm like, holy smokes, that guy's got a concussion. He's got to go get, what's the Guardian caps? He's going to go put a Guardian cap. Listen, the whole offensive line might need to get one after CJ threw that one. They're like, I don't know, man. We're getting paid a lot of money, but if you're just going to drill us in the back of the head over here, I'm not down for that. But anyway, CJ, better luck next week. Try not to drill your offensive linemen. They love you. They protect you. Be nicer. All right. We talked about it a little bit earlier. Cameron mentioned this one. God, I love this one. There's nothing better than seeing a quarterback just dish a ball. I mean, doesn't even barely get a step in and just throws it a mile long. Oh, I love it. There's nothing more beautiful than that. And Anthony Richardson, man, did not play a stellar game, but he had that one pass. He slips on the play. And he gets barely back up. No plant foot, no power to throw it, just pure arm, and just rips a ball to Pierce down the middle. And you're going, holy smokes!
It was like 60 yards.
This guy just threw 60 yards with all his arm strength, and he just made it look so.
Cannon.
He made it look so effortless, and you're like, man, if you're an NFL GM, you're going, I could use some of that. I could use some of that. I mean, that is awesome. You now know why these NFL GMs will sometimes see these guys in the combine. And you're like, oh, yeah, I should take him. And they come out and you're like, well, that was a terrible pick. Gosh, when you see an arm like that, you're just like, that's incredible. That's real talent. But beautiful play by Anthony Richardson. Way to get back up off the knee, throw that ball, no plant foot. Beautiful pass right down the middle, and Pierce taking it in. My next play. This is probably my favorite of the week. Many memes have already been made of this player. I talk so positively about him. Not really.
I know who it is.
Not really, but man, I really did wish the best for him. Willie Levis. Buddy.
Oh.
You can't put a mayonnaise commercial out and then throw an interception. And then next be on your knees with your hands behind your head, just giving faith to the Lord right there in the middle of the game, buddy. Come on, man. I mean, he literally gave this football game away to the Bears. The Bears, I'm pretty sure Caleb Williams went back to his locker room. He got his game check, and he probably signed at least half it over to Will Levis, hand it right to him there. Because there was not a single thing the Bears did.
That was terrible.
They didn't do a single thing to earn that game, but Will Levis did earn it for him. Yeah. And, man, he gave them every single bit of that win. And it's iconic seeing Will Levis on his knees, hands behind the head going, oh, man, I should have made more money off that mayonnaise commercial. Oh, I didn't sell enough mayonnaise. Oh, man. Bad decision for the career. Anyways, my last play, DJ Dallas, Arizona Cardinals. He had a kickoff return. I just thought it was a really good kickoff return. Honestly, there were some great plays this week. We had Dallas. The Dallas Cowboys had a kickoff return. I forgot who it was. Turpin, who did the kickoff return, or it was a punt return, something like that. But DJ Dallas, just a beautiful kickoff return, taking it back for 6. Got to appreciate the young man who's out there trying to make a name for himself. Not necessarily a part of the offense in any way, shape, or form, but he's out there making it happen on special teams. Gotta love when players go out there and work on special teams. So great work for him. That's it for my plays of the week.
Can I add one?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
The entirety of the Panthers' offense. Did you watch them tackle each other? And did you see the guard tackle?
Oh
did you see the
Bryce
guard
Young.
tackle?
Bryce
that
Young.
was-
He
that was
tapped.
horrible.
Bryce Young barely bumped into his
and
guard.
he just turns around, grabs him, and throws him on the ground.
I love how these top plays have a bit of sarcasm in them.
Yeah. My
which
favorite
makes it
part was
fun.
after the guy tackled him, he goes, "Oh."
I saw a video. It was this. It was. Oh gosh, I can't remember what movie it's from. But they're taking his head. He's just banging him into the thing. And it was like Bryce Young's offense or Bryce Young's day during on Sunday or whatever.
It was bad.
Gosh, he got beat and beat hard.
I don't know what they were doing. They played terrible.
Yeah.
Well,
They're
let's.
the worst team in the league right now.
Well, we'll see
Possibly.
what we've got coming up next week. We'll have more plays, and we'll look forward to that segment again of the good and not so good, I guess, top plays of the week, the most entertaining plays of the week. So thank you, Trent, for sharing with that. I am now going to go and give my top 5 power ranking teams from 5 to 1 in the NFC and the AFC. So here we go. At 5, I have to be objective and say, after watching, we're only going off 1 week, but I have at 5, I have the Tampa Bay Bucks. After what they did, what Baker did, he threw 80% completion is hard to do. If you're about 64%, which is a lot of times what these quarterbacks are, they're mediocre at best and they don't make it. You get up to 67, 68, you're great. I mean, that's the difference. 80 and 4 touchdowns, absolutely fantastic start. Mike Evans doesn't get any older. I mean, they've got Godwin. They've got so many different weapons there. If they play like that, then and Atlanta plays the way they've played, then they're going to win the South. And I got to hand it to Tampa Bay. They're number 5. Number 4, I have the Cowboys. I'm not sure at all if it was the Browns were terrible, but they did win. They won in convincing fashion. I thought they played really well. CeeDee Lamb and Dak, and you got Micah Parsons doing his thing. They always are going to have a chance.
Micah looked good.
He looked good. And
He
then
always
at
does.
3, you'll like this, the Philadelphia, you probably want them higher, I don't know, but the Philadelphia Eagles, Hurts was not that great at the beginning of the game. He started picking it up, but that offense, if Hurts plays well, they're as good on offense as anybody. When you have Goddard is like an afterthought as your tight end, and you have Devontae Adams or Smith, excuse me, Devontae Smith, and you have A.J. Brown, and then what you saw from Saquon Barkley, I don't even know how you stop that. That is just an awesome offense. Now, their defense is why they're ranked 3rd. I'm not sure where they're at. They're in that game, they looked
Pass rush wasn't there.
At times they look good, and at times they look bad.
Yeah.
So that'll be the big key. But I've got them at 3. Number 2, the Detroit Lions. I was surprised. Amon Brown didn't do as well. Obviously, he had an off game, but that team, they can win running the ball. They can win passing the ball. They can just do a little bit everything. And right now, I was not overly impressed with a lot of teams in the NFC, to be honest with you. And so with what they did last year and coming into this year, they did win a close game against, I think the Rams are a good team, not a great team, but they're an average plus team. And they did pull out the win, so I got to hand it to them. And number 1, the 49ers right now, I think are the class. Purdy looked really good, crisp. Ayuk has got a long ways to go, and they still beat a very good team. And what they've got coming back, if McCaffrey comes back, then that's impressive to have a 1-2 punch like they have at the running back position. Hufanga decided not to play. He's probably going to play. He's an all-pro safety. He didn't play in the game. We've got our defensive end opposite Bosa didn't play. Gross-Mata, he's going to be coming back. Our linebacker, D. Winters, who is replacing Dre Greenlaw, will be coming back also. So we were down to our 3rd, and we still dominated a very good team. So I think they're the class. Now moving on to the AFC. This one was a little hard for me, but at 5, I have Miami.
Is that with or without Tyreek's arrest?
Well, it's with him being released from his arrest. If he's not there, he's not there. But I've got them at 5, and I've got if Tua is doing his thing, and with weapons like Waddle and Hill, it was really close. But I have them in, and Mike McDaniels, he's a fun coach to play for. And but the big thing, I think, I'm wondering if this Tyreek Hill situation is actually going to bring the locker room in a close-knit situation. And I'm curious going forward what this will do for them. Chargers, I have it 4. As Cameron, as you said earlier, Joe Alt 11 times against Crosby, who is awesome, and shut him down as a rookie. That's impressive. No pressures. I think he had 40-some opportunities against him. He gave up none. Justin Herbert is great. Dobbins ran for like 135 yards. And then McConkey came in as a rookie and got a TD. They play physical. Jim Harbaugh wins close games. He knows how to do it. So I have them at 4. The Texans I have at 3. C.J. Stroud with Diggs, Nico Collins, Joe Mixon, Dell. They've got DeMarc Ryans, the coach. What they've done from a turnaround standpoint is crazy in a short time.
That's another offense. That's another offense where you're like, I don't know where you can get more firepower.
No, they're impressive. The Ravens, at times I was nervous for them because of their offensive linemen. I'm worried about them, but I have them at number 2. Those linemen hurt, but the problem is they went up against the Chiefs and they lost by a half an inch. So it's hard to knock them too much when you go against the back-to-back Super Bowl champions and you lose that closely and you're rusty from your offensive line. So I'm not going to drop them too far, but I think there is a big gap between them and the Chiefs. I've got the Chiefs number 1. The defense looks really good. Worthy looks like Tyreek Hill light. I mean, he's not Tyreek Hill, but when you have that speed, Kelsey really had, I think Kelsey had 1 play in the game. He had a couple catches. When you can win without key players like that, and Pacheco, they just got a little bit of everything. But I think I think they have the best quarterback in the league. They have the best coach in the league, and I think they have the best defensive coordinator in the league. And when you have that and you have a solid team, tough to beat. So what are your guys' thoughts on those? What do you agree with? What do you disagree with? Your thoughts? Why don't you go, Cam, first?
The only thing that I was going to say, I was also going to talk about the 49ers and the Jets. They did not have Sauce Gardner. The Jets didn't.
Yeah, he played.
No, he didn't.
Yeah.
Did he?
Yeah, he played.
Oh,
Yep.
I didn't see him.
Sauce played, and Sauce came in right off the bat and had Purdy threw a perfect ball. It was one of Ayuk's drops, but he had it, and Sauce made a nice play on it.
Oh, yeah,
at the
yeah, yeah.
beginning
I
of the-
did not see him.
Yeah.
No.
Yep.
Never mind.
Yeah.
My bad.
That's okay. That's all right. So,
Yeah, I would put the Dolphins. I would probably put the Dolphins and the Ravens swapped, just because.
Okay.
The Dolphins just have so much more ceiling, and I think the Ravens are at their ceiling.
I'm a
And
little concerned about the Ravens ceiling.
I think
I'm worried about both those teams. I could see them flopping. I could see that.
But that would be my only
Totally
change.
fair. And I thought that way too. I was really not impressed with the Ravens. But then in the end, when you see it comes down to a half an inch against the Super Bowl champions, it's like, okay, how far down are they? Because they're as close as they can be. So it was kind of hard to.
Yeah, but I also don't like. Again, I'm not wanting to like boost my team because I'm not one of those people. But like, I also didn't feel like we were playing at 100%.
Yeah.
I felt like we were definitely kind of.
And the Ravens wanted that. The Ravens wanted
it
that
bad and worked really hard and still missed the mark.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's just me. And there was no pass offense. It was strictly just Lamar doing whatever he could to get yards, and that's not going to last for long.
Fair enough. Okay. Well, I'm going to share my thoughts real quick on the Tyreek Hill situation beforehand. Very unfortunate situation. Saw the body cam, and I'm just going to give you my opinions. Obviously, he was speeding. It looks like he got pulled over for that. Was going to give a ticket. And I don't know why, but when the officer came, Tyreek Hill was frankly acting foolish. He was. I don't know why he talked to the officer that way. I strongly recommend to my children or anybody else, if an officer pulls you over, do show, be polite, be courteous, and do your part. And Tyreek Hill, I think there is some people that are acknowledging that he didn't talk the right way. I heard Shannon Sharp, I heard Stephen A. Smith, and I think that was foolish on his part. That being said, in a world where we have so many issues going on and there's such a divide, it looked to me, in my opinion, that the officer's ego was hurt when the guy just ignored him.
Keep your window down, I'm gonna get you out of the car. As a matter of fact, get out of the car. Get out of the car. Give me that, we'll break that freaking window. Get out. Get out. Get out. Get out. What part of blood don't you understand? I'm getting arrested, Drew. When we tell you to do something, you do it. You understand? I'm getting up. You understand? Not what you want, but what we tell you. You're a little confused.
And he decided to escalate the situation instead of de-escalate the situation. To take a traffic offense, even though Tyreek Hill is acting foolish, I don't think you open a door and drag a guy out and do. I don't think it's worthy of that. The guy didn't have a gun. He wasn't, being a threat. And I think it's just really sad that they did that. And you can tell, it just looked to me that the officer let the ego get in the way. I'm a huge proponent and pro police officer. I feel bad for a lot of what they've gone through. So this hurts. That hurts, I think, the relationship that they have and the rebuilding of all that trust. I think most officers do a really good job. But I think when they hire officers, I think you need to find people that know how to de-escalate situations and not make them worse. And this looked to me like, hey, I'm an officer and you're not listening to me, and now I'm going to get physical with you. And he didn't give Tyreek. Tyreek was a pill, and Tyreek shouldn't have done it. But just because somebody's foolish, I don't think that you now have a right to act like a fool. And I think that's what happened. I think the officer, there needs to be something, whatever the final decision is, needs to be significant. And I think they need to make that clear. But what I'd love to do is have a real honest conversation. And sometimes you can have two truths. Tyreek Hill shouldn't have acted that way. And I'd love to see him actually say, I should not do that. And I was a poor example, because that was a poor example of how you should act, and the officers should come out and apologize and say what they did was wrong, and then they should be able to come together. I think you might only see apologies on one side. Hopefully I'm wrong, but I hope that officer and the officers involved not only learn something, but there does need to be a price to pay, because we have to have in our communities that people feel safe. Officers are supposed to serve and protect, and I don't think they did that this time, and I think something needs to be done to change that.
Yeah, I don't know. I watched the body cam thing. There was multiple different angles you could see people videoing from their cars.
Yeah.
I listened to not only Tyreek Hill's recall of the situation, but Calais Campbell's recall of the situation. The one thing that I really struggled with for me personally was, you see Tyreek Hill, he goes on to, do his interview after the game, and he actually says some positive things. Hey, I want to be a police officer after I'm done playing football, whether or not, I don't know if he really means that, but he says that.
I guarantee you.
He said, I want to be a police officer after I get done football. I love police. He says, I'm very supportive of police officers. And then his agent comes out, Drew Rosenhaus. He's like, oh, yeah, Tyreek Hill is the biggest police officer supporter on this side of the Mississippi. Tyreek wants to be a police officer one day. And you got him saying the same thing. And then you got Drew Rosenhaus saying, I just think this whole thing is incredibly stupid. I don't know what's going on. But Tyreek loves police, so I don't know why he would be detained for something he's doing. And then I go back and watch the body cam footage. And I'm like, it doesn't look like somebody who loves the police.
No, he was a jerk.
No. And I'm like, listen.
No.
At first, it came out that they pulled him over just for a seatbelt, but then it turns out he was actually speeding by like a good 30.
He was going like 60 and a 35 at least, because it was visual, so they didn't have a speedometer, but it could have been the car also.
So he's going over the speed limit. He's not wearing a seatbelt, and then they pull him over, and you have him sitting there going, hey, roll down the window, knock on the window. I actually, as someone who has a love for cars, understands why Tyreek's upset when the way the officer knocks on the windows. If you don't know, police officers a lot of times wear gloves that have the plastic, hard carbon fiber backing to them.
Especially those, because they were motorcycle cops.
Yeah, so they have these hard carbon fiber back gloves, and he's knocking really hard on this window. That window's probably worth $30,000. I guarantee if the police officer broke the window, I guarantee the police officer's not paying for that window. I do kind of see where Tyreek's coming from when he says, hey, why are you knocking on my window like that? What I don't agree with is the way he came out and said it. And then the way he kept on reiterating it after the police officers asking him for certain things. Anyways, I think Tyreek Hill, he came out very, very frustrating. And like you said, the way he talked and the way he spoke to these officers was not great. But I 110% then followed up to watch the rest of the body cam footage. And I see Tyreek Hill, who's being in the wrong, not acting right, not answering the questions that's being asked of him, not even answering back to the questions in a manner of, hey, I'm not answering questions, I want a lawyer, which in most cases is acceptable. He's just asking his own questions in return, which is even more disrespectful to the situation. And then the officer does one major thing that makes a mistake, and honestly, I at the end of the day, I hope that officer understands that that was really dumb and really poor. And I hope he understands that that was not the right decision. And hopefully someone down the line makes sure he has the correct discipline in place for what happened. There is no reason at that point in time that Tyreek Hill should have been ripped out of the car.
No.
The way he was thrown down and handcuffed. I know that some people are going to come out and say, well, what if he was in the hood, or what if he was in a suburb? You probably wouldn't be saying the same thing because those are normal people. and they don't get treated the same way, and they're getting treated better because they're millionaires. Listen, at the end of the day, you got to know your clientele. Whether you're running a business, whether you're working for a big conglomerate, or you have a small job you work on the side, you got to know who you're selling to. And at the end of the day, police officers, their job is to sell to the public, and it's to serve and protect. And at the end of the day, you got to know as a police officer, hey, if I make a mistake on a large scale with a large customer, Tyreek Hill, it's going to be all over the news, everywhere. Everyone's going to know it. Now, I'm not saying that makes it important to do the right thing. I'm just saying, hey, maybe be a little bit more on the side of I'm going to let things fly for someone like that, because if you make the wrong decision, it's going to be everywhere and it's going to make you look really bad. And once again, I just don't agree with what happened. The way they kicked him down when he was trying to sit down. He said something about a knee surgery. I don't know when the last time Tyreek had a knee surgery, but sure. But the way they kicked him down on the curb, I just was not a fan of that. No. I don't like that. Calais Campbell, his teammate, pulls over to the side of the road, comes to check on him. I don't know really how I feel about that. On one hand, I'm like, man, if I was in that position and I saw my best friend handcuffed, or a good friend of mine handcuffed, I don't know that I could say I wouldn't pull over. And to be fair, Calais, he did handle it for the most part pretty solid.
Yep, he's a good guy too.
Yeah, and he's there. He said, I'm here to support Tyreek. I'm not leaving Tyreek. And anything the officer told him to do, he did respond to correctly and appropriately. He backed up when he was told to. He got his license when he was told to. It sounded like Calais actually handled it pretty well. So at the end of the day, I don't necessarily know if I have an opinion on that part of the situation. But man, I don't like the way Tyreek's agent, Drew Rosenhaus, is speaking about it. Like it's this huge disgrace of the police force, and how Drew Rosenhaus basically came out and said, I demand that they be fired and we get an apology. And I'm like, well, at the end of the day, I don't disagree that was handled wrong by the police force, but I personally would really hope that Tyreek Hill would at least come out and say, hey, as a citizen of this city and this government, I feel really poorly for the way I acted in this situation.
Everybody should do that.
Yeah.
Yep. And I agree. And I'd like to see people get second chances on all sides. People should get second chances. And, we have so much racial tension. Obviously, I haven't gone through the same circumstances other people have. But it just looks like, to me, ego is what drove this. And I don't know why. I mean, I'd love to have Tyreek say why he was acting the way he's acting. I don't understand that. But the officer also needs to explain why he felt like, that was like a trigger that went within seconds from the time
it was quick
after the window was rolled up, and he says, all right, you're coming out. And as an officer, you need to be more disciplined. You have a gun, you have a taser, you have these things. We're entrusting you to make good, sound decisions, not to escalate something to that level. And this did not need to go there. Even if you have a person that is being disrespectful, I believe you can just not say anything and get a ticket. You don't have to say anything. Now, I don't know why. I heard Tyreek Hill was saying I rolled the window up later. I heard because he didn't want people seeing him and he's going to be all over the news. I don't know if that was a convenient thought from Drew to tell him to say that later, or if that's true. That might be true. But still, you do have to talk to the officers. You do have to have something rolled down or a door open to give your license. But
so for some context, he was, as he had gotten pulled over, he called his agent.
Yes.
So the whole time he's on the phone with his agent.
Yes.
So ultimately, I don't know if those were necessarily Tyreek's decisions or if they were Drew's decisions.
Yeah.
Because
could be.
Because after he got yanked out of the car, he's like, they're handcuffing me.
Yeah,
They're
he's still
handcuffing me."
talking to him.
He's like yelling at him.
Yep.
The one thing I will say is, even before the cop got to the window, he was already pissed off. Just by pure body language. He's slamming on the window. The dude rolls the window down, and Tyreek goes, why are you knocking on my window like that? And the cop just ignores his question and goes, why are you wearing a seatbelt? And then it just goes from like Tyreek wanting his question answered to that guy wanting his question answered. And then they just go back and forth. And it's like some schoolyard stuff. And then like at one point, Tyreek just like tries to de-escalate the situation. He's just like, just give me my ticket and let me go. Like, he didn't even like want to fight the ticket. He's like, I know I'm gonna get a ticket. Just give me my ticket and let me go. And rolled his window up, and the cop was. I think that pushed the cop.
And
over the
but
line.
it was
Here's the thing, though.
It was quick.
What Tyreek has to understand is 30 over. If he is 30 over, is a reckless driving charge, and you can go to jail for that.
It's a felony.
Yeah, it's a felony charge. It might be a misdemeanor. I don't know, but it's a
felony.
It's an arrestable charge.
Yeah.
So in that case, he could have been arrested for his driving actions. Now, I don't know if they can actually arrest you upon just a visual identity of speed.
They can't. But also, I want to know is how did they know he didn't have his seatbelt on?
Yeah, with the tinted windows.
That tent was
tinted
dark.
out windows. I have no idea how they saw.
I don't know that they pulled him over. I think when he walked up to him, he says, "Why is your seatbelt?" So I think he looked in the window and then said,
every single time that I've gotten pulled over, I instinctively just unlock
That's
my
what he
seatbelt.
should say. That's what he should say.
Yeah, but I think it was Tyreek was trying to do what his agent was telling him. The cop wanted something different, and then it just got.
I think it
was mishandled by both sides.
This is yes, I agree. This is a classic case of in life when you have a tense moment, de-escalate situations.
Yeah.
Be the peacemaker. Both people can learn from this, and that's what would be great is if they could come together and everybody can learn. A teacher, just because you have a student that goes, and is disruptive and maybe ornery or pops off to you, doesn't give you a right to be a buffoon.
Yeah.
It does not allow you to go grab a kid and start chucking him or whatever. And so you have to have discipline. And officers are held to a different accountability than the average person. And it's not to give Tyreek off the hill, but the officer needs to chill out. And when you see somebody, if your perception is that person is acting belligerent, do everything you can to de-escalate.
Yeah.
Because emotions are high in life. You don't know what's happening in somebody's life. They could have just lost somebody. They could go. You don't know when you're pulling up who you're pulling up to. So, get the situation down, and life will be better. When you try to be the tough guy, bully, whatever it is on either side at any point in life,
doesn't work.
It only gets worse. It ends poorly. So I just hope that people can learn from this, and that people can come together and not make this something that we're divided against. So now we're going to move on to a new segment. It's Cameron's NFL worst decisions made on and off the field. Cameron, let's see what you got.
So we already talked about the Tyreek thing. That was on my list. I think it was poor on both sides, and it was just a bad thing. I will say, though, his touchdown celebration was really funny. Thought that was great.
That was good.
But other than that, we already talked about that. I won't go into that.
Gosh, what a world we live in. You can get arrested one moment and then score a touchdown and make fun of it the next.
It was like 4 hours.
Yeah.
In between. It was like 10:57, and then they played at 3, which is nuts. Anyways, first thing I want to talk about, Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott is now officially the highest paid quarterback in the league. He signed a 4-year, $240 million deal with $231 guaranteed.
Yeah.
That is by far the dumbest move of the entire offseason. And the 49ers signed Brandon Ayuk for $30 million a year.
Yeah.
And that was a terrible decision. But Jerry Jones just went and was like, I can do better.
I can double that. Yeah. I'm doubling.
I can do that. He's only crazy thing. He's only the highest paid quarterback by $1 million.
Yeah,
because Deshaun's deal is $230 guaranteed.
Yeah,
which I'll talk about Deshaun here in a little bit. But I think it's terrible. I think there's no reason that Dak needs that much money. I would have much rather paid Micah Parsons.
Yeah,
I would have much rather paid Micah Parsons. I
think
you
could have done it for half the salary.
Yeah, absolutely. But I just Dak Prescott does not deserve that money. I mean, if they make it to the playoffs, sure, maybe he's kind of worth it. But I hate the trend of I have a quarterback that's above average. I'm gonna now make him the highest paid quarterback.
It makes no sense.
And these players are just playing for money. They're not playing for their team, and that's
true.
pretty obvious.
That's very obvious.
That's hard to do.
It got off track so quickly.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Something that I hope for your team specifically, for the 49ers, I hope that Brock Purdy has a good head on his shoulders and doesn't go, well, I want money because I'm on a good team and I'm a good quarterback. I hope he goes, I'm fine with making like $10 million a year, $15 million a year, you know?
$50 million would be a discount.
Yeah, I mean, even that. But, I mean, Trent sent me a TikTok today showing like all the specifically 49ers players and where they're ranked.
First, second,
and he's
third.
like 949th or something.
Yeah.
It's super funny. But anyways, Dak Prescott doesn't deserve that money, and Jerry Jones needs to be put in a home. That guy is old and senile and should not be making money decisions anymore. If the Cowboys want to have a successful future, they need to get rid of him.
This is what I think too, is you see all these teams who are having a lot of success with young quarterbacks because they're not paying the quarterbacks and they're playing really good players around them. Yeah. And then they use those 4 to 5 years that you have of a non-paid quarterback. They're then using those 4 to 5 years to bring talent that's cheaper into the building, train them up to then take over from the good players, then leave the building. You saw a lot of that with like the Patrick Mahomes. You saw them lose a lot of high quality players as Patrick rolled into actually making money. But then you had young guys coming in who had been sitting behind those high quality players who are now playing, and then you get them playing well, right? And it's a cycle, and I think it's really great. And I just don't know why Dallas doesn't just do that and go that route. And I'm also thinking you have two names that would absolutely sell in Dallas, right? You have what's the guy's first name? Ewers from Texas.
You're talking about out of college?
Yeah.
Oh, no idea.
So they have there's college quarterbacks this year that I think would sell. And you got Shadur Sanders. I mean, what type of homecoming would that be if Shadur Sanders ended up going to Dallas? They'd make millions off it. And Jerry loves making millions. All I'm saying is they paid Dak Prescott millions and millions of dollars. And I promise you, when we talked about this the last time, I said they're going to have to pick between Dak or Micah. And I'm pretty sure that they're not going to sign Micah at this point. Yeah. I don't see it. I don't.
Frank Harris and Quinn.
Oh, Quinn Ewers.
Yep.
So Quinn Ewers, Shadur Sanders, those were the two things where I was like, if you're Dallas, you got Quinn Ewers from Texas, good quarterback. That would probably go great in Dallas. Or you take Shadur Sanders, who his dad played for your team, was a big star for your team, and would just make tons of money in general playing for your team.
Yep. Absolutely.
And I'm like, why not? And then I did hear someone say, well, they're not going to have the draft pick to be able to go and get him. Listen. Be a 49er and give him 3 first-round picks for him. Who cares?
Also, Shadur Sanders is going to fall the second round, so they definitely have picks for him.
They have an opportunity. So, Cameron, let's go. Keep going with your worst.
Yeah, so next I have, I guess I'll talk about that. I have Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson
we knew this was coming.
Has somehow managed to make his situation worse. I will say, I do feel a little bad for the guy. Just this last weekend, he lost his dad.
Okay.
2 weekends ago. Not this past weekend, but the weekend before. He lost his dad. So that was on his heart when he was playing his game. He also said he lost one of his better friends as well in the same weekend. So he's had a lot of loss. And then today it came out that yesterday it came out that another woman has come forward and is suing him for sexual assault and battery and intentional infliction of emotional distress.
Time out. That's the most 21st century crime I've ever heard of.
Absolutely it is. But so
it's another charge.
For context, he has already settled 24 different cases of some form of sexual assault or whatever.
From what I understand, this one didn't take place at a massage parlor. This was like a date.
No, it was at her house or something. And in October of 2020. So that's 4 years ago now. Why she decided to come out now, I don't know. I'm not hurt.
Yeah.
But
I mean, we'll see what the legitimacy is. to
yeah,
this.
and we'll see if it gets settled. The problem is you keep tacking these on, and you also add the emotional distress of losing family members and people that are like family members. And then you also tack on the media just tearing you to shreds about how bad you are at football.
Yeah.
It takes a mental toll. And I don't want to defend Deshaun Watson because obviously he's done bad things. But also, I hope that nothing bad happens when it comes to him because I can see it happening and I can see why that might happen and where that could go, and that would really not be good because then that's like $230 million gone.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
It's not
They've-
going to make that joke.
I'll let you keep going, but they have not paid most of his salary is still left.
Yeah.
His cap hit. I think next year it's $70 million
Yeah.
against the cap, and all of it is guaranteed. And the next year they are toast if
Yeah.
he's not good. But go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, what I was going to say is should this affect how the Browns see Deshaun Watson? Like,
Yeah.
do they try to restructure? Do they try to get rid of him? What do they do? You know?
I mean, I feel like at this point it's got to be a serious conversation. It's not very common that after week 1 of football, people are already giving up on their quarterback.
Yeah.
And I feel like it was week 1 of football, and a lot of Browns people are giving up on their quarterback. And if you watch the game, it's not just statistically bad. It's also like you watch it and it's bad.
Oh yeah. It was
I mean, this is the hard part. Is sometimes you have quarterbacks come out and have a bad statistical game, but you watch it in person, you're like, well, it really wasn't that bad. One receiver didn't catch the ball, it got intercepted. It went through the hands of the receiver and the ball got intercepted. But in this circumstance, I mean, I watched that game and it just looked like he couldn't find a read.
No.
I mean, he was looking all around for things that were never going to be there, and I don't know. I have a good feeling that everything going on outside of football has put such a toll on him
Absolutely.
that he just no
He's-
longer is
He's
there.
toast. Mentally, he's toast. If you get a speeding ticket, the rest of your day is off. You know, it makes it really hard. What he's going through with the legal issues, I can't even imagine going through one of his 25 charges or whatever he's had, or I don't even know how. So he goes and he is booed at home, away. If he walks into the mall, if he goes anywhere, he's hated everywhere. And to step on the field, now you have to perform, but you've lost your confidence. And when you lose your confidence, you're a totally different player.
Yep.
Do you have anything else for us, Cameron?
I have one more.
One more.
Oh, I do want to say too before we move on, just to kind of for Deshaun Watson. We should always remember too, these are not criminal suits. These are civil suits, which that means that we won't actually probably ever really know the legitimacy of all 25 claims, because ultimately, as Deshaun Watson has a lawyer, Deshaun's going to end up paying these out because the publicity and the time it would take to fight these suits would be more detrimental to Deshaun in general. So at the end of the day, he's going to have 25 suits. He's probably going to pay out on every single one of them. But because they're not criminal suits, we'll never actually know how legitimate all of these suits were.
Well, he's already paid out on 24.
That's fair.
So-
That's fair. Yeah.
The last thing I have is good old Tom Brady and his broadcast debut. Good Lord, was this awful? He oh man,
It wasn't the best thing
I'd
I've
rather
seen.
have Joe Buck.
Yeah.
I'd rather have Joe Buck, and that's crazy. Joe Buck is a terrible broadcaster. But Tom Brady, I mean, I think he said 12 words the whole night.
Yeah.
He was just like, he just kind of sat there and just watched.
Yeah.
He had no input on anything. He had no like commentary on what was going on. It was just nothing.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was, I couldn't tell if it was like first game jitters, like he was just kind of nervous being on that side of the camera, or if he's just not cut out for broadcasting. It's hard to say, but I mean, it was bad.
Yeah.
It was really bad.
A lot of stuttering.
He's
Yeah.
0 for 1. 0 for
Yeah.
1.
Yeah.
Over 1.
Well, thank you, Cameron, for sharing the worst moments. We'll be looking forward to these segments coming up each week, and so we'll continue doing that. And now we're just going to quickly go through just our picks of the week coming up. I have 4 games that we will be talking about. Last week, I was 6 for 6, so I feel really good about that. But I think all of us were, I think you guys were 5 for 6, weren't you?
Can we check the stats on that?
No, I was perfect. You can. It's on video.
He was 6
but
for 6.
we're doing
What was the
really,
one-
really well.
Kansas
the-
City, Baltimore.
I had Chiefs winning.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
So, but I mean, you guys did well. I mean, from a standpoint, we did. We
Yeah.
were. I'm
not
not
hard to
saying that
pick
if you're watching this, that I would go and bet with what we're saying. But that week
I would.
was
Listen,
Put
really
money on
good.
it.
if we would have went down to the casino, we would have won like
We-
600 bucks.
we
Put
did-
money
we-
on our picks.
We did well, but here's the first game. We'll just go through these. Thursday night, Bills versus the Dolphins. That's going to be a tough one. I am going to be picking the Dolphins in this. There's too much that was relying on Josh Allen, and I'm really wondering right now if this thing with Tyreek Hill, because this is now a national thing, is going to galvanize that team in a special way. And so I am picking the Dolphins to win. Cameron, why don't we start with you? Who do you have winning that game?
I also have the Dolphins.
Dolphins?
I can't see Josh Allen doing as well as he did last week, and also I don't think they're playoff contenders. I don't think they're Super Bowl contenders. They
Right.
just don't have it.
Nope.
But the Dolphins do. The Dolphins, in my opinion, are the only team that we really have, as the Chiefs, really have competition with, and the only team I'd really be scared of.
2 Dolphins. What about you, Trent?
Man, I don't want to take the Bills here.
Don't have to.
Well, here's
You
the
do
thing.
you.
I'm just struggling because, man, usually I take the Dolphins early in the season and then the Bills the second game of the season because usually the colder weather, they don't play as good.
I think this is in Miami.
It's in Miami.
But the Dolphins look super beatable on Sunday.
Yeah,
I
they
mean, there was
did.
times they looked very beatable, and there was times they looked like no one was going to touch them. Like when
Oh.
they rolled out 4 different running backs in one series, I was like, okay, no one's going to beat this team, right?
No.
When you got 4 running backs who can score
Yeah.
at any point, you're like, okay, who's going to beat this team?
yeah.
But then there was also other series where you're like, I mean, come on, what is what is he doing?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Who
I'm
do
gonna
you got?
I'm gonna take the Dolphins. I'm gonna take the
Dolphins.
Dolphins.
Yo.
I can't do
Dolphins
it.
all the way.
Go.
And that's not an easy one, but we
Go
all have
Fins.
Dolphins.
I was too easy.
Next game, both teams won starting off, and both teams had somewhat blowouts. 49ers,
Yeah.
Vikings. Sam Darnold gets to go play for his old team against his
Sam
old team.
Darnold, MVP
Yeah.
candidate.
But I don't think that will continue next week. And
Hey.
I've got the 49ers winning.
Really?
Last year, Minnesota actually upset the 49ers in this.
Yeah.
We were without some players, but I think the 49ers are getting some players back. So I think Huff will be back. I think our defensive end
Not
will come
Christian
back.
McCaffrey.
McCaffrey is questionable. We'll see how he is. But I have 49ers winning. Cameron, what about you?
I'm gonna do it.
That's fine.
I got the Minnesota Vikings in an upset.
That's fair.
I got them.
They did it
I
last
think
year.
Jay Jettis is gonna go for 200.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
All right.
listen. I
Trent?
get. Oh man,
Yeah.
I'm going 49ers. Sorry,
Okay.
Cameron. I'm leaving you on the boat.
It's okay.
Okay.
I would like to say that I think the Vikings have a better chance, but the only way the Vikings win this game is if Sam Darnold plays exactly like he did last week, which he could. He could come out and
Yeah.
play exactly like he did last week. And then I say the Vikings do have a chance to win this game.
Sure.
Aaron Jones looks solid. Justin Jefferson proved once again that he doesn't care who's throwing him the ball, he's going to catch it.
Yeah.
Jordan Addison in his second year is looking like a stud. They still don't have TJ Hawkinson back. That's kind of a down play for the Vikings.
That will hurt.
Their defense looked pretty solid. So I don't know. Sam Darnold's going to have to come out and play the game of his life, and we'll see.
I also don't think Mason's gonna play as good this game.
Oh, yeah, that's a possibility.
It's hard to predict that. Okay, now the third game, Bengals Chiefs. I have Chiefs winning. The Chiefs don't necessarily start well, but the problem is the Bengals don't start well either. And with no Higgins, I think they've got no chance. Chase, I will play better. I heard he got food poisoning a little before the game, but I see the Chiefs winning this game.
He got no money poisoning. That's what it
Yeah.
was. So listen, you would have paid in the bag. You would have paid in the bag. He would have been able to afford a better meal.
And to me, he's an easier contract. Even though it's a lot of money, he is going to get $35 million.
Yeah.
He's going to get,
easily.
and he should get it. And so what they're doing, I don't know what they're fighting, but that's behind the scenes. But that's who I have winning. What about you, Cameron?
Chiefs. I mean, the Bengals are bad this year. Joe Burrow's not good. Joe Burrow is not good.
You mean he's not playing good, or do you actually say he's not good?
He's not
Joe
playing
Shiesty.
good. He's not playing good.
Okay.
And so
he is not
He
playing
was good, but he hasn't played good in like 2 years.
Yeah, he didn't play good the
So,
first half of the season last year.
Yeah, I don't think we're even gonna have a problem.
Okay, Trent, what do you got?
Gosh darn it. So this was the two that I came into for tonight, and I was like, Bills or Dolphins, Bengals or Chiefs. This is the one I'm going to struggle with. Part of me is like, I go back to the superstition, man. This is probably the only other game that I would vote against the Chiefs against.
Yeah.
Every other game, even if they play the Eagles right now, I would have the Chiefs winning.
Yeah. Well,
But I'm
That's
sitting here
you.
going, there's only two teams that I think would give the Chiefs a run for their money. And it's only just because of who they are and the history they have.
Yep.
And it's the Ravens and the Bengals. And somehow the Chiefs got them back-to-back weeks.
yeah.
I think we have one of the hardest roads.
Listen, I'm gonna try to get one up on Randy here,
Okay.
and I'm
All
gonna
right.
take the Bengals.
All right.
I'm
fair
gonna do
enough.
it.
That's good.
Wait, is it being played in Arrowhead?
Yeah, it's
Oh,
yeah.
Burrowhead! It's Burrowhead. He's gonna win.
He's not.
It's Burrowhead. That's where his stadium is.
Well, he has a chance.
All right.
He has a chance. Okay, last game, Falcons versus the Eagles. I thought the Falcons would look better than they did last week. That was not what I was expecting to see, but it might take them a little while. It clearly is going to take them more than week one. But I have the
Big Kirko.
Eagles. I have the Eagles winning that game.
Yeah, I was really nervous about this on our schedule until I watched last week, and I was like, Kirk looks rough.
That would not look good.
I don't know if you've seen the
He's coming
videos.
off an injury.
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen the videos, but it looks like he's still not there from his injury.
Yeah.
He looks really bad.
That's what Jordan Penix is for.
Michael Penix.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Michael
yeah.
Penix.
I knew who you were talking about. Yeah, I'm going to take the Eagles. I would hope that we wouldn't lose to what that team played last week. I mean, losing to the Steelers is bad enough.
That's not good.
Yeah.
Hey, Steelers played good,
Sure they did.
and I called it.
What? Pickens had a good game?
No,
Oh.
not Pickens. No. I lost his name. Wow, that's crazy.
Justin Fields, Russell
Justin
Wilson.
Fields is the
Starting.
starter.
Which made sense. We sat here and talked about it. It made no sense to start Russell Wilson. I'm so glad.
He's the starter.
Wait, hold up. Drew, maybe find a
Russell
clip.
Wilson
Find the
will
clip
play.
of us talking about this
Yeah.
last, because me and Cameron both said
Yeah.
you're going to end up playing Justin Fields anyways.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So just start him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it doesn't make sense.
And he really didn't look that bad. Justin Fields didn't look that bad.
no.
No, I wouldn't say I was impressed by him, but
I
but
said he
they're-
didn't look that bad.
Yeah, he didn't look that bad. I agree.
Better than Russ.
All right. Well, we'll see what's coming up. The Chiefs, I think 49ers and Eagles, we all think will be 2-0 at the end. And I don't know if the Chiefs have a loss coming until October 20th when they play the 49ers. But we'll see
Oh,
how that goes
gosh.
coming up.
Oh, gosh.
But we'll look forward to seeing things going forward. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
I'm going to pick the 49ers for that game. No, I'm just kidding. I'm picking the Chiefs.
No, you're not.
Absolutely.